Hey everybody, welcome in or welcome back to Career Coaching with Carol. I wanted to talk today about a service that I went to a couple of weeks ago, and I know what some of you are thinking. Carol, I watched your last video and I think you're wearing the same outfit. The answer to that question, if you're wondering, is yes, I am, probably. Um, I don't wear this outfit every Sunday or Saturday. Sometimes I go to Saturday service. Not that anybody really cares, but it's been a few weeks actually since I created a video, and I'll talk about why in a minute. But just turns out this is what I'm wearing again today. Maybe it will be my uniform. I don't know. Maybe let me know what you think. Maybe I need a uniform. I don't know. But what I wanted to talk about today, the service, by the way, this is from the Sun Valley Church that I went to here in Arizona. And it was from the service on May 16th. So you can look up the notes and see which part of this is from that service. And of course, all the career coaching stuff will likely come from me, since that's my background. And for those who didn't watch the last video, I'm not judging you at all. But if you wanted to watch it, you could, and you would hear me say that this is only my second video about my faith and how it integrates into career coaching. And so I don't claim to be an expert on the Bible or religion. And for those who aren't religious, I think you could still take some really good tips from this video that will help support you as you make a career change. So with that, today I'm going to give you 3 ways to strengthen your relationship with God during your job search, because we talked last time about fear and worry and how both of those could be part of the job change process or career change process. And worrying, we talked about, does not actually add value to your life. So while we know that fear would be a normal part of the job searching process, if we use that time of transition to get closer to God, it will feel like, well, 1, I think it'll help you to feel more in control. And 2, I think it'll help you to see that it can be very purpose driven. So let's go. So the 3 things. 1, real quick, I made a note, something that stood out to me, the pastor said was that God wants us to live freely and without a heavy soul. And I believe that that's true. I believe our God is a loving God and wants us to live according to his will, sure, but also what lights us up. I mean, he's given us different gifts to add value to others. And so I think sometimes part of why we have a difficult time when we're job searching is we got lost along the way. And sometimes we settle for jobs that don't really light us up or fulfill our passions or interests. And so we do start to get a heavier sort of soul, if you will. And then we're met with losing our job, or we have to quit, or something happens and it seems worse, but I'm suggesting that sometimes that's a blessing in disguise, because it can direct us toward what God has called us for. So that was one thing that stood out to me that would be in those notes. But again, as I see it, there are 3 ways. The pastor also talked about, he separated out the body, the soul, and the spirit, which is probably not if you're a Christian, it's probably not the first time you've heard how those, the body, soul, and spirit are connected. But what I would say as they relate to job searching and the thousands of people I've talked to over the last 20 some years is that I'll just give you a quick overview and then I'll get into each of them. But for the body, a lot of people neglect taking care of themselves during the job search. As far as the soul goes, a lot of people mistakenly search for the job that they had. And I would discourage that unless you loved it. And then 3, a lot of people also, I think, neglect to fill their own cup or pay attention to their spirit while they're job searching. So let's start with the body. I have been out of work more than once due to medical reasons. And maybe other reasons, I can't be sure, but the 2 times I'm thinking of were really big medical things that I just couldn't do anything about. And I guess in those moments, because they were medical related, I didn't have all of my focus went to just my health and maintaining my health. And so I wasn't really focused on job searching right away. But again, from talking with lots of other people, as well as my own experience, and this is somewhat influenced by all of my own health journey over the last 20 years, is that if you are out of work, especially, that's a great time to get healthy. I know that lots of people have a harder time getting out of bed, harder time working out. And I think this goes back to that quote or, suggestion at the beginning of having a heavier soul. I almost think that when people are job searching, let's say they don't have a job or they're miserable in, the career that they have, they forget to pour into themselves entirely. And so again, they get out of bed late. They often have more sick days if they are still working. They eat terribly. They're not conscious of their sleep. And then they don't do anything active. So the three things I would encourage you to do to take care of your health would be, one, pay real good attention to the food you're putting in your body. And I do know that in today's, day, food is very expensive. I do know that. As best you can, you will feel better. The better the food is that you put in your body, the better you will feel. The chips and the candy and the chocolate and the cakes and all the goodness taste great in the moment, but they don't fulfill us long term. And what they do is they make us feel worse almost right away, right up until the next time we eat, most of us anyway, especially if we're consuming it regularly. So even if you can make simple swaps, like fruit or vegetables, obviously all the things, we can have a separate video, just on that. If you know me at all, I'm not the health expert, but I have learned that just even eating better changes the way I feel, and your brain and your stomach are connected. And so if you're putting better food in your stomach, your brain is going to feel better. So nutrition would be one thing. Second is sleep. And I want to be careful about how I say it, but I'm always working on improving my sleep. So some things that I do and have done when I'm job searching and able to, focus on it would be, some things would be not eating too late, or at least not eating too large of meals late. I try to walk for 10 minutes after every meal, just so I can get things going and keep my blood sugar from spiking. And doing that helps me be able to shut down a little bit better at nighttime. I want to say that I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on sleep times, and I've heard between 10:30 and 11 p.m., between 10 and 11 p.m., based on like the Chinese clock and some other things, but you'll know what's best for your body. The idea would be, you can do yoga, you can do meditation, there are sleep meditations you can do on YouTube, the apps on your phone and things like that. Getting in some kind of regular routine, and I know it can be hard to get up in the morning at your usual time if you're not employed, but it would be a good practice, because getting up in the morning reminds us that there's another day, it's full of opportunity, which leads us into the third thing for your body, and that would be some kind of activity. If you follow people like Dr. Andrew Huberman, he says one of the, getting some sunlight first thing in the morning also helps your circadian rhythm reset so that you are more tired at night. But he also suggests getting some activity, even, 10 to 30 minutes early in the morning of just walking even. If you can even start walking, listen, if you're unemployed, walking is free. And if you can find a safe place to do it, I think you would find that it does also add some value to your overall mental health. I have been in places health-wise where walking felt like just not possible. And so I get it if it's not, but I do think if you can even just make little changes to nutrition, sleep, and getting some activity, you will feel better. And the better you feel, believe it or not, the more it shows up in your application materials, like your resume, your cover letter. You become more optimistic about the job searching process. Then when you go to interview, you still remain or appear to be optimistic, and that's the kind of candidate people want to hire. If you are somebody who, is doing the opposite, you're not taking care of yourself, you're not getting out of bed, and you're not taking care of yourself, you are going to come across differently in your materials and in your interview. It's just energy. It just happens that way. So that's the body. For soul, when I coach folks, and by the way, on the website, you can see I have different coaching programs available, but where I think most people do themselves a disservice in the career change process is they go right to the resume, and then they maybe use ChatGPT to create that resume instead of engaging it and putting their own energy into it, which I have separate videos about that. But I will say that I usually coach people to think about three things. Well, there are many things, but three bigger things that oftentimes we skip. One, what do you value in life? Do you value respect? Do you value autonomy, being able to work on your own? Do you value a flexible work schedule? What are some things that you value when you are looking for a new career? Again, we're thinking of things that will light up and speak to your soul. So really get clear about your values. Also, big one, get very clear about your strengths. This one usually feels weird to people. I ask them to list as many strengths as they can in like 5 minutes, and a lot of people will stop after, a few items. If that's you, then you got to probably spend a lot of time here. You don't have to. Obviously, I don't even know who you are, but I would recommend it. I would not skip this step, because if you can't get clear about your strengths, how are you going to convince an employer of your dream job that you have them? Not only that, but not only do you want to get clear about them, you want to start talking about them, not in an arrogant sort of way. Obviously, the Bible also teaches us about humility. But it's okay to be saying things like, yeah, I'm good at leading groups, or I'm great at budgeting, or listening to people is a skill set of mine, something I really enjoy doing. If you can get comfortable talking about those things just in your everyday life, you're going to be more comfortable talking about them when you go to interview, and certainly on your resume. So again, make a list of your values, things that are not negotiable for you, meaning no matter what, you won't ever do that, or you will only do this. So your values, your strengths, and then also, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Let me look at my notes. Oh, your interests. Sometimes when I coach people who have been working for 20, 30, 40 years, they want to leave one job to go into another one that's just the same. And I say, awesome, what do you like about that job? And then they say nothing. And I don't understand that, because I think if you don't love it, why are we working hard to get you back there? Unless, it pays you so much and you value the income over everything else, I think you will pay with your soul. If you start taking those jobs that don't align with your strengths and your values and your interests, there is a cost. You might make that extra money, but there will be a cost. And maybe it's to your physical health. I don't know. But so I would take time for interest. I would take time to think about what I usually ask folks is if you could do anything all day that's both appropriate and legal. Appropriate meaning you would be comfortable telling, a close family member about, and without them making a face, what would you do? And sometimes if I'm working with students, they'll say, oh, I don't know, I would probably just watch crime scene investigations all day, or I don't know, I'd probably take machines apart, put them back together. Pay attention to how you're spending your time, because those interests, there's probably a career in there somewhere. If you really pay attention to what you're doing, if it's talking on the phone, outside of sleeping, most things can be monetized, right? So again, I have separate workshops and things you can, resources I'll continue to post, and there's lots of resources online, but we talked about taking care of your body, and then that was taking care of your soul, which would be thinking of ways and jobs and experiences that would feed your soul. And then the third, as I said, is the spirit. I have to do 3 like this because when I try to do this, it looks like 2.5. It's not, that's 3. So anyway, 3. Item number 3 is your spirit. I'm not an expert at this, but I will say, since I've started stepping into my faith more, I have friends who have bought me these cute little daily affirmations. I didn't plan to show this, but here's my visual aid for any students watching. It's just a calendar where every day you can read a verse and see what it says to you. Actually, what does it say? I'm going to read this just because I don't know. I just feel like I should. I'm the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. I love that happened. Honestly, you guys saw me just flip it open random. It's not even March 3rd, but that's where that was. It's from John. It's just basically saying have faith in God during the job search. I couldn't have planned that better, you guys. But some ways to add spirit, increase your spirit and connection to God would be 1, pray. And I'm of the mindset, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I'm new-ish to this, but I like to pray in such a way where I'm thanking God for what he's already done. Thank you, God, for bringing me that amazing job that breathes energy into my life and allows me to provide abundantly for my family. And thank you for that easy commute so that I might spend more time with my family. And thank you, God, for whatever it is. Instead of saying, could you please, it would be great if, just we're thanking him because we know he can do all things. We're thanking him for already bringing it. And as a result, we're putting it out in the universe. So praying is one thing. Affirmations is another. I know this one has been tricky for a lot of men. I mentioned this to a male friend of mine the other day, and he actually laughed at me and referred back to Saturday Night Live's Stuart Smalley. I don't know, I'm making that name up. There was a guy who used to sit in the mirror and be like, people love me. And yep, that's what I mean. Now, I don't know that you need to do this in the mirror, but I do think when you say things out loud, it gives power to those words. And I do think you can't lose anything by talking good about yourself, saying nice things, talking about those strengths, even if you just do it to yourself. Yes, I am good at leading people. I'm going to find that great job that's a CEO role or it's the next level manager. I'm going to be great because I'm a rock star performer. This is going to be awesome. Now, I do know that you can't just, if you've been in a state of depression, flip that switch and go, yeah, there are vibrational energies, and you can't really go from like the, shame and guilt down here to the very top, which is like joy and, all of that. You have to kind of work your way up a little bit. But even if your affirmations were, I'm a good person, and you can say that with honesty, that's a great place to start. So whatever sort of affirmations you can fit into your daily life and speak those into existence, I think that's good for you. But I will say, I watch a lot of educational stuff, and there's this, I don't know if anybody's seen him on Instagram. There's this boy, and the videos I've seen, he's maybe like 8 or 10, but he's like a Mensa candidate member. I don't know. Please let me know if you know who that boy is, and it's his mom, and they're just darling. And anyway, he appears to be very, very smart and know everything, which I love. And he says there is power in speaking those words into the mirror, because then it brings it right back in through the eyes, and teaches your brain that that's a true statement for you. So grain of salt from me, but this kid seems to know a lot more than I do. So I do affirmations in the mirror. Anyway, so for spirit, again, you can pray, you can do affirmations. Gratitude is one of the best ways to raise your vibration. And that is, again, to just make a list of all the things you're grateful for. If you are job searching and you have a whole day free before you even job search and put any energy into, certainly any energy into fear or desperation or feeling anxiety, anxious, I would put some energy into writing down what you are grateful for. Because if you're job searching and you're healthy, you are ahead of some other people. So I am grateful for my health. I am grateful I have a family. I am grateful I still have a roof over my head. I am grateful I have any amount of savings. Whatever it is, I would recommend getting real clear on what you're grateful for, because again, it raises your vibration, and then it's more likely to keep those things coming to you in an abundant way. The last one, people always give me pushback on, but it works. So you try it out and tell me it doesn't. I don't think you will. And that's to volunteer. Job searching can take months. In my mind, there isn't any reason you should be sitting around every day, spending several hours submitting hundreds of resumes. In other of my videos, you'll see why that's not a great strategy anyway. But instead, I would recommend, while you're job searching, maybe you volunteer 1 hour a week to 10 hours a week, whatever. Maybe it's multiple places. I would pick something that fills your soul. If you love animals, find a way to volunteer with those animals, because you don't know who else is going to be a volunteer there that you could meet that maybe offers you your dream job. And they met you in a casual sort of way. So the job hasn't even opened yet, but here you are filling your cup and giving, you're being of service to God and helping other people, and boom, the perfect opportunity shows up. And even if that doesn't happen, in the meantime, you are filling your own cup. And when we volunteer, not only, Tony Robbins talks about this, but not only do we help other people or animals or, veterans or homeless or women or children or whatever, which I support all of those groups. Not only does it help them, but we feel the lasting effects of having been in service. So finding a cause that you are passionate about would be great, but also maybe there's a way to use your professional skills. If you are going to church, maybe you say, hey, listen, over the summer, I know you have all these Bible camps happening. I have tons of administrative experience. I'd love to help you organize the thing, with the understanding that, hey, listen, if I get a job or have to have an interview, I got to go, but I'd love to be of service. They will love that. You do have to probably have some parameters. Sorry, church leaders, but we do know that sometimes you I don't want to put it on church leaders, but I mean, in general, there are always needs, right? And so I think it's also great to have that boundary of here's what I can do, and then stay within those limits, right? But doing that, obviously, again, supports the church or whatever group of people that you, if you're in AA or something like that, be of service to those people as well, wherever you find community. But if you're using your strengths, your talents, your abilities, your passions, and your interests, and then you're putting them to work, it keeps that vibration energy active in your chart, in your body, in your existence. It keeps that energy active. But also you can put it on your resume. For those of you who volunteer but don't have a section for that on your resume, you should add one. I call it civic engagement, but I recommend having a section where you're listing out. And if you're not working, but you are volunteering, you are actively using your skills that a company might hire you for. That's way better. It's always easier to get a job when you have a job. And so I would much rather see that someone is volunteering, doing some free IT work and working at Chick-fil-A to make ends meet than somebody who just sat around and did nothing. So again, I think the 3 ways that you can strengthen your relationship, connection to God during job searching. 1 is take care of yourself. And maybe those around you. If you have the extra time, maybe you do a little more for them than you had in the past because you were busy. But take care of your physical health, sleeping, nutrition, and exercise. And again, that's the body. The soul, get clear about your values, your strengths, and your interests. And then the third, for your spirit, again, I talked about praying, affirmations, looking at my notes, volunteering, and then also expressing gratitude. I think that another thing from the service that came out for me that I want to share with you is something the pastor said was bitterness. A way to look at bitterness, which some people relate to in their job searching, is that they owe me. The world owes me. I lost my job unfairly, which might be true, or these people ran me out of my job, or these people weren't nice and so I had to leave. You can relate to all of that. Maintaining or staying in a state of bitterness cost you because you've left the situation, but now you're carrying it around. So instead of thinking what the pastor refers to as a they owe me kind of attitude or belief, I would recommend we change that, flip it, and instead of thinking of what they owe me, think, what do I owe to God? What gifts has He given me that I've just not been put into use? And maybe the door swings wide open in terms of potential jobs for you because now you're including jobs that you never thought of before. And again, I have, and we'll share other videos and resources on job searching. I also have a career coaching class that's coming up. One class I think I'm going to do over the course of once a week for 3 weeks. And the other one I think I'm going to do boot camp style so that those people who are in a hurry to get back to work, it's a process to change careers. And yes, you could skip the process and just create a resume. Totally fine. And you can use ChatGPT to do it for free. But if it's not working for you, maybe consider going through the class because you'll leave with a lot more. And my goal for you is that you will feel more empowered and you will have all the tools and the skills you need for any future career change. But in the meantime, I hope you find that helpful. If you have any thoughts or questions or need more information, please click below. Thanks, everybody.